Hello everyone. I recently read Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros, and I'm on the second book now, Iron Flame. But I figured I'd go through a few book reviewers discussion questions just to talk about it. I did make some notes while I was reading it, but I misplaced them. Okay, so these are some of the book club questions that are just like found on this site here.
Violet sees herself as frail and bookish. Her mother forces her into the writer program. Did Xaden and her mother see hidden strength?
I mean, there's almost a constant acknowledgement of Violet's joints popping out of place and things like that. I don't know if that's strictly necessary to show that her body is actually just built that way and she more easily gets injured than anybody else. I don't know if it's something that needs to be a constant reminder, because I feel like we acknowledge it a few times and that's okay, but it's like she stepped off the thing and her ankle fell apart, or somebody snatched her arm and then bloop, it just slipped out of place, and it's like, oh, she fought through the pain, or she held back the feeling of pain as she was so used to. It's like, we get it. We don't have to repeat it like every few chapters anyway. But yeah, I feel like I don't know if they necessarily saw a strength in her. They were just Xaden and her mother, I think they're just used to pushing even when like things get rough, and they were like, if she doesn't make it, she doesn't make it, but if she does, then she's like pushed through like many other people have. I don't know if they necessarily saw some extra strength specifically in her. Okay, let's see. There's a wide-ranging trigger warning at the beginning of the book, calling out war, poisoning, death, brutal injuries, and sexual circumstances. How do you feel about context warning? I think content warnings are necessary. Let me go get my cats. I feel like they just do serve the reader to know what they're getting into. But sometimes I do think it does a disservice to the book because you're not like shocked or surprised by some of the stuff that happens in it. Can a well-written synopsis suffice? I do think a well-written synopsis could suffice. So it's like, during the war of so-and-so and so. So people already know there's going to be war, death, and all the things that you expect coming with war. And that one sentence would tell you at least 4 things that some people would put in a content warning. Okay, world building is everything in a good fantasy book. Discuss how Yarros built this particular world. What did you like, dislike about it? Is the world complete? I feel like it's maybe 80% complete. I feel like not enough people ask enough questions. I know that people get used to not questioning things, but the book has told us multiple times that Violet is smart. And she asked smart questions in class. Why hasn't she been asking smart questions in other areas, That's one of the failings, I think, when it comes to Violet as a main character. It's like, oh, she's smart. And before she walked across the parapet, she checked for moss. The parapet is like what they do in order to join the Dragon Riders in the first place. Like, as a hopeful becomes a cadet or whatever, they have to go across this parapet. And she was like, oh, the moss is blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, oh, yeah, she's smart. She knows blah, blah, blah. And then she constantly proves to me that maybe she isn't so smart. And I get a little tired of her sometimes. Okay, let's see here. There are plenty of other books about deadly magical schools and dystopic training programs, such as Scholomance. I haven't read that. Or is it Scholomance? Like Scholar? I don't know. Divergent. Divergent, I don't think that was a very well-built world. I didn't really read the books, but the movies, I don't know. It showed me not much. Harry Potter kind of falls apart a bit once you like delve into it, because, or like when you read it when you're older, you're like, why would the wizards not know how to dress in Muggle fashion when they live right next to them, interact with them all the time? Like, you're telling me these people who work with humans, when they have to, like, it would trickle into their society even if they were closed off like Wakanda. They're not that closed off from the rest of the world like Wakanda is, You would know what the human fashion is. Somebody doesn't know how to wear a sweater. What sense does that make? Is there any difference? Are there any tropes that all of these books share? Yeah, one of the tropes that these books share is that But yeah, you know, since it's a young adult, is that a young adult is going to be handling all the problems that all the adults should have a long time ago. Violet says, I will not die today, and yet she nearly dies at many points throughout the book, both from the rigors of the training and her fellow students. How do you think it would have responded to those many threats? Likely would have given up. I know I wouldn't have made it across the parapet because, very much like Violet, I've got weak joints, but hers seem to hold up well enough for her to actually get across somewhere. My ankles go like my ankles have rolled standing still before. I would have fallen off of that thing. Plus, I'm one of those people where, you know, you're on a ledge or something and it's like gravity is reaching up and telling you to calm down. Come here, you know? So I think that would have gotten me on the parapet. And honestly, I'd be too tired. Like, I'd be like, that didn't get me yesterday, but man, something's going to get me tomorrow. Let's see, is Dain gaslighting Violet or truly trying to protect her? What's his motivation? And have you ever experienced a friend or family member who did the same? No, not that I can think of. But Dain is a very annoying character, especially in the beginning of the book. It's like yes, he's protective, but he's making things worse for her by being overprotective because it's going to look like she's using her connections or something to get further. Because nobody ever looks at it as this person in a higher position is taking advantage of a young cadet. It's looked at as this young cadet is seeking protection, trying to, you know, advance ranks through less hardworking means and stuff like that. And he didn't, like, he's saying he cares about her and wants to protect her, but he's like, meet me so and so and so, and people see them sneaking out here and there. All the blame's going to fall on Violet and not Dain. And plus, he constantly was having the same conversations. Oh, please go back to the scribes. I can't protect you here. They can protect you in the scribes. It's safer there. Like, how many times are we going to have this conversation? So I was getting a little frustrated with the book at that point. Hello, my son. Okay, let's see. Because it hurts to think we're the kind of kingdom that would do this. It hurts to rearrange everything you think you know. Lies are comforting. Truth is painful. Violet's realization that her academy leadership has been lying about the rebellion. Did you see it coming? Why do you think the kingdom is holding on to this deception? Yeah, I definitely saw it coming that the leadership wasn't exactly who they said they were, because who sets up this silly program where people go across? Because I was thinking from the very beginning, they've been in a war for like 600 years, but instead of sending people who fell out of cadets straight to the front lines, they're like, if you can't cross the parapet, you die. You fall, you die. Somebody pushes you off, you die, and you don't really get punished for that. And when you first ride the dragons, you're not strapped on or anything. And we learned from, God, what's the name of her dragon? Tarn. We learned that the dragons can hold the riders on with magic, but they're just letting people fall instead of, oh, this person can't cut it, let's send them to the front lines. This person can't cut it. Like, they need soldiers, so why are they just killing people? But yeah, and of course they're holding on to the deception because they don't want to lose what they have, their resources. They don't want to change things up. See, after the final dramatic fight scene, there's a change in the point of view from Violet to Xaden. Did you notice? Why do you think the author made such a switch so late in the book? I did notice, yeah, and I'm glad there was one author that I was reading. It was one person's POV for at least 70% of the book. Then all of a sudden we're doing back and forth between the characters for the last 30% of the book. That makes no sense. So you either do switching characters all the way through, or you tack maybe one chapter on at the end where you can see from the other character's point of view, you know, just so you can see how they feel. I think she did it because maybe she thought the audience was questioning how sincere Xaden is, maybe his thought processes for why he lied to Violet about certain things. I don't really think it was necessary, but yeah, I think she did that just so we could take a look inside of Xaden's mind for once. Although we could easily tell, you know, who he is, what he's thinking from his interactions with Violet. You know, you just put like 2 and 2 together and you're like, oh, that's who Xaden is. And you can figure that out pretty early on. Okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being pure fantasy and 10 being pure romance, where would you place this book? I'd say it's about a 5, being halfway both, because it's all about dragons and stuff, you know, but she's pretty much everybody's constantly thinking about, oh, who am I going to be with? How am I going to meet up with so-and-so? Oh, I hate him, but why is he so attractive? Throughout the entire book, so it's 50-50. Alternatively, on the Scoville spicy pepper scale, with 1 being a bell pepper and 10 being a habanero, what is the spice rating of the sex scenes? I skip most sex scenes in most books because I find them really boring. How many times I'm going to hear somebody say, oh, he knows exactly how to touch me. Oh, blah, 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 blah. So I don't know how spicy they were. I kind of skipped them. And plus, I don't really have interesting conversations during the sex scenes, so they're not important to me. Raise of hands, who wants to cuddle Adarna and take her home? Ah, yes. I feel like we get most of the humor in the books from the dragons. Violet brings us rash decisions, and I feel like she got kind of plot armored pretty early on because her sister gives her a dragon scale vest that a lot of objects can't pierce through, so that saves her in a lot of the hand-to-hand combat scenes. And then she finds, or her sister delivers her, a book that their brother Brandon, or is it Braden? I think it's Brandon, wrote, that gives a lot of info about how the place works. Like, where did he get this information from is what I want to know. They say he was a really good strategist, but there's some of this stuff is like, how'd you figure this out? And in what ways was it useful to, I think her sister's name is Myra, and lucky that Violet knows enough about poisons in order to measure things correctly, in the most part, to take down her opponents before hand-to-hand combat battles. You know, so they get weak like right at the moment that they need to. There was one time, I think, where they got sick too early or too late. That's because she can't really measure the weight of the person that she's fighting against. Oh, but yeah, like I was saying, a lot of the humor comes from the dragons. I really like their interactions, and I like the dragons even more in Iron Flame. That's book 2. I think I like the dragons more than the people. I don't know if I like Violet very much anymore. I hate that with most books I start to dislike the main character. Like, what is it? Harry Potter? I don't particularly like Harry. I really like Hermione, but Harry as a main character, I don't like him very much. He knows he needs to know these things, but he doesn't study. They say, oh, you're super good at Defense Against the Dark Arts because you've had to use them. He had to use like 1 or 2 spells toward the end of the books most of the time. I don't know. It's just a lot of the times the main characters are not it for me. Wheel of Time, I don't particularly like Rand. I prefer characters like Perrin, Matt, Moraine, Evander. No. Yeah, Evander, I really like Evander. She was really crushing on Dane at the beginning of the book, but you could already tell that he wasn't going to be her love interest, because it's sort of like, you know, when you watch K-dramas and you're like, oh, this character is actually nice, or too nice, or showing traits of, I don't know, showing traits that the main character doesn't actually end up falling for. They end up with a person who's hard to love or has some secret really good agenda, and that their meanness and attitude is actually just a shield to protect the people that they love and protect their plans from outside sources. You know, I knew that he wasn't going to be him, and I knew it was going to be Xaden the minute he showed up. Is it Shaden? Like, do you pronounce the X as a sh or a z? I don't know. I think it depends. But the audio version I was listening to, they pronounced it as Shaden. And I kind of like the sound of that. I really like Imogen. I believe that's her name. I like the budding friendship between her and Violet, but you mostly get that in book 2. Overall, I think the book is maybe a 7 out of 10 for me. It's good. I really like the dragons. I like the story that they've got going. I like how the squadron had to figure out they were being lied to, figure out who they could trust. Oh, that's another thing. Violet already knows these people aren't trustworthy, but I don't know. She keeps trusting. I don't. And she already knows poisoning and stuff is a thing, but she's just taking drinks and food from people, and she needs to be like, she needs to start carrying around her own food and drink. It's not safe out here. Yes, that they burn everybody's stuff once they die because death has become so commonplace that they don't want to hold on to someone who's already gone. But I feel like they should hold on to at least one thing, so they don't become too callous or forgetful of the people who they're trying to protect, But I guess leadership doesn't really want that to happen. It's pretty easy to guess some of the things. Oh yeah, I was talking about plot armor for Violet. She gets 2 dragons. She gets Tarn, I believe his name is. I'm so forgetful of stuff. Tarn and Adarna. Tarn is a big, rare black dragon. I was like, the minute they mentioned black dragons are rare, I was like, I know the main character is going to get one. And then they mentioned Feathertails, which Adarna turned out to be, which are like little gold dragons, which are actually the baby dragons, but nobody know that. And the minute they mentioned one of those, I was like, or maybe she's going to get one of those, but she ended up getting both. And so everybody like, whoa, she's super powerful. And I'm just like, she hasn't really proven that much to me. I mean, I liked how she was like sneaking around and poisoning people, but that was all on getting the idea from Brayden's book. Like, a lot of her ideas come from other people. A lot of the finalizations of her plans and plots come from other people too. Xaden ends up, taking over a lot of the saving in the book, a lot of the completion of really cool tasks. I guess she's the heart, she makes people think differently, more softly and stuff like that. But I would like for her to actually, be the smart character that they're telling us she is. Like, why didn't she think about being able to aim lightning? She's just, oh, I'm super powerful, I can throw lightning around. But they've already told us that she's smart. She's similar maybe to her brother Brayden, who thinks things through. Or because with the moss thing, we hardly ever get any thought processes like we hardly ever get any more thought processes like that in the rest of the book. She just like jumps into poorly planned situations, and then one of her friends has to get her out of it. Oh yeah, and another thing, it's like nobody has thought to develop what they call lesser magics. It's like, oh, you can throw lightning, boom, that's powerful. But with lesser magic, you can pull things through walls. Wouldn't that be useful on a battlefield? Like pulling swords through people, pulling arrows through people, pulling their own armor through them. Like, I don't know. Like, wouldn't that be possible? And it also, battle-wise, doesn't make sense to me that they're not like strapped onto their dragons in some way. I know they need to like move. You'd think they like maybe have a quick release developed, but all these dragons and stuff fighting in the sky against griffins, and nobody's strapped to their creature, and they're not falling off. They're just holding on with the strength of their thighs. Like that. Every time I'm picturing it, like that don't make sense. Or they have like really long flights to take. Are they not falling asleep? If they were strapped on in some fashion, they would be able to, sleep in the saddle and be well rested when they arrive. Wouldn't that make sense? They're in the middle of a war. Wouldn't they want things to make sense? But yeah, that's pretty much it. I did like Fourth Wing. There were some things that I didn't like, some things that I questioned. I'm not sure that I like Violet very much. But yeah, I'm liking the book enough to continue through Iron Flame. And I like some of the characters that we've met through Iron Flame, like some of the Griffin Riders. I really like them. And they're also getting the Dragon Riders to rethink the entire practices they've been through, like just losing people in the process of becoming a Dragon Rider. Because the Griffin Riders don't do that. They have a different setup. I guess I'm also talking about Iron Flame here, and that's okay. But yeah, they do their, parapet type thing where there's a body of water, so that if somebody falls while learning to fly, or is this the flying practice thing? Who knows? But if they fall, they just land in the river, they get out, they try again, or they go do something else. You know what I mean? But yeah, that's it.